Cherian Thomas, thanks very much for joining us again. Very good of you. Wonderful response. Obviously, World Vision has got a huge amount of trust of people, and that's great to hear. This sort of donation, these are really amazing. But amongst all of this, you know, I know the way you work. You do look on the ground work, plus a lot of input of data. So how much do statistics and data analysis and data science affect your actual strategy of World Vision and World Vision India both?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned right at the beginning when you talked about heart. I did mention that for us there is also a fair amount of head. And we combine the two and we try and do it together. For very long, social sciences have had a very strong bias towards qualitative studies, and that's very, very critical, that's very necessary. But equally, what many of us from the corporate sector who join places like World Vision bring is also a very strong data analysis and ability to look at data and to bring data to the table. So for instance, for World Vision, our basic vision is about bringing fullness of life to every child. So our vision statement is actually expressed in this manner. Our vision for every child, life in all its fullness. And that really talks about, therefore, what is very at the heart of World Vision, which is child well-being. Now, child well-being can be a nebulous concept, and how is it that we can give it a more concrete data-based approach? We have looked at child well-being in 4 components. One is clearly look at child well-being as health and nutrition. A child having access to health and good nutrition, and therefore not being malnourished. And malnourishment levels are still inordinately high in our country. Stunting is still as high as 38%. In terms of weight, it's about 35%. In terms of wasting, we actually saw in the last family survey, National Family Health Survey, it actually increased marginally in 2016. So very clearly, health is very critical. There are a lot of indicators that you can use to quantify it. There is education, and education is more than just enrollment. It is clearly about looking at learning outcomes. The third area is really the area of protection and safeguarding of children. It is children being safeguarded from abuse, children being safeguarded from exploitation, from child labor, child marriage, so many areas where it happens. And particularly in pandemics like this, increasingly where children are at home, a lot of access to virtual media, online predators are again a big challenge. So that's another area which we need to be very mindful of. And finally, underlying all this is the community in which they live, where their parents live, their families live, and therefore livelihoods becomes a very important component. So doing all that together, we developed last year a 24 parameter index, which looks at how various states, and this is called the India Child Wellbeing Report of 2019. It was released in August of 2019 by the CEO of Niti Aayog at a function that we had in Delhi. And this is one report that has really sparked the imagination of many people, and particularly since there is a certain amount of benchmarking and where we are, that is very critical and important. When we looked at our strategy, for instance, World Vision has a strategy from 21 to 25. We actually mapped out all the blocks of this country and defined a vulnerability index. And today we actually have vulnerability indices for all the blocks of this country. And therefore we know where the most critical blocks are from the point of view of child well-being.
I think so this is really, really important, all those factors you mentioned, you know, to actually be able to pinpoint using data, analyzing, creating this index, as you say, of 24 parameters. Fantastic stuff. Very, very